Your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion. Delivered by conflicting media reports, we connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit in current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest, first timer on Ron Siegel Radio. Paul Peters is with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Ron.
Glad to have you with us. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you, and you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan or plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we are celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Serious part of the day, today's National Women's Checkup Day. That's a serious one. So, ladies listening, don't delay those checkups. We've got a great healthcare system in this country. The problem is there's so many people that ignore the warning signs until it's too late. Ladies, go get those checkups done, and try and head off any of the goofiness. Don't want to have anybody getting sick. Well, speaking of that, did you hear the announcements this morning from the president? I don't care whether you like him or not. When he talks way too long, I could have said the same thing in a minute that he said 45 minutes. Rolling back prices on medicines, prescription drugs. And you're not going to be able to go to London anymore and buy Ozempic for $88 and pay $1,300 for it here in the U.S. Ain't going to allow that. How it's going to work, I don't know, but I don't know how Thermos works either. It works. So the bottom line is if we can get some lower drug prices, that's a good thing. Media won't tell you that it's a good thing, but it's a good thing. National Odometer Day. Don't roll that one back. That'll get you in trouble. And for those of us that have beaten anorexia, today's National Nutty Fudge Day. And I will have to make a call after the radio program to my friend Donna. She makes great fudge, usually just at the holiday time, though. Nutty Fudge Day. I'm going to have to call and see if there's a batch cooking up right now. Nutty Fudge Day. Let's see what the markets are doing today. Do we want to see what the markets are doing today? Of course we do. It's a strong day on the markets, no matter what people want to tell you. Now, here's you can't listen to the media. I listened to, if you're in Southern California, I had KTLA on this morning listening to the news. What are they talking about on the news this morning on KTLA? They're talking about the president being gifted a plane from Qatar. Okay, I don't care because I don't know about you. I can't afford to fly the darn thing. I don't understand how to fly it. But those planes are about $26,000 an hour to fly. You and I, that's just out of our league, I think. Maybe not you, but it is out of my league. So when you start talking about this and you look at it and you say, I don't care about that. I care about the prescription drugs. I'm overweight. Yes, I do I'm on the shots right now. Been working wonderfully for me. rsrlinks.com/shot. You can follow the journey right there. And yes, it's worked wonderfully for me. But you look and you say, okay, the media is not talking about the fact that there was a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, two nuclear armed countries. Now, if either one of them have a brain, they would realize that if either one of them used a nuke on the other, that would annihilate their own population as well. So right there, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 898 points right now. The NASDAQ is up 634 points. Oil's up $1.30 a barrel. Well, you got the ceasefire there. You've got tariffs being reduced between the U.S. and China. You got a U.K. tariff deal. And I just noticed a side effect of all these tariffs. Well, there's a new business here in Southern California and up in the Pacific Northwest as well. Yes, that's where a good majority of the product comes in from China. The business is free trade zone warehousing. Well, why is that important? Well, when merchandise comes in off of the boats and they go into into these free trade zones, they can sit there and the importer pays storage, but they don't have to pay the tariff until it comes out of that free trade zone. So last week, when tariffs on goods coming in from China was 145%, that's a bit exorbitant. This week, it's 30%. So, it's still a lot, but it saves some money there. So maybe they'll start bringing some of those goods out of the free trade zones and paying the tariff on it. We'll see what happens, but it's good for the market. So again, the Dow Jones up 901 point right now. And I don't even want to look at it, but we will because this is Ron Siegel Radio. We live in the formerly Golden State. $4.88 a gallon for gasoline. $4.88 for gasoline. Can you imagine that? Ow! Come on, Gavin, wake up and why don't you do something about gas prices? We know he likes the taxes and the tariffs or the fees. We stopped their ability to tax us in California. So now they call it a fee and it does the exact same thing. $4.88 a gallon. Now, I don't want Paul to laugh at us because he's sitting out there in Texas right now. And if I look at AAA, it says that $2.74 a gallon of gasoline is the average in the state of Texas. $2.74. $2 a gallon cheap. Now, I don't know about you, but do you believe that the oil companies say, something, California, you've got a pretty good sized market. We're going to gouge you, but not Texas. And not Nevada, where they're probably paying $1.50 a gallon less than we're paying in California. Right? Josh is out there in Nevada. I'm not as smart as these guys. I'm still in California here, where it's 95 degrees yesterday and 70 degrees today. Now, it's we're not used to those 20. I know it's global warming or global cooling. I'm not sure which it is, but in any event, we were looking at that, and Newsom doesn't have I'm not going to go there. But the bottom line is now they're talking about Josh, you ready for this one? You might not have seen this when you were out here. They're talking about by the end of next year, maybe the year after, $8 a gallon for gasoline in California because 2 more refineries are closing and nobody else makes gasoline to the standards that California legislature requires. Is this, I don't know, I guess.
Such an idiot.
Yeah.
Such an idiot.
Only thing I can say. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, we're going to learn about home projects that boost home values. We're going to talk about that. We're going to chat a little bit. Best-selling author. We're going to learn about, you want to write a book? I can't write, but I can, maybe ChatGPT can write me a book. I don't know if it'll sell as well as Paul's, but he's a veteran as well. He's helping seniors struggling with addictions, folks with disabilities. Wide variety there. So we're going to talk and learn from Paul today. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, it's 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, shame on you. But the replay is available. Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564. Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Are you like many of your neighbors trying to figure out how to pay off your debts so you can retire someday? Build bigger savings. Invest in opportunities. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Debt will destroy 50% of Americans from being able to retire earlier and with more. What if you could have a guaranteed program that could show you how to eliminate all of your debt in 10 years or less? All without having to spend more each month than you spend right now. Yes, that's correct. All without spending more from your checkbook each month than you are today. Get your free analysis today to see if you qualify. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Log on today for your free analysis. rsrnodebt.com. No purchase necessary. The free analysis takes only 2 minutes. rsrnodebt.com. Ron Siegel Radio is your home and mortgage connection. Go to rsrnodebt.com. rsrnodebt.com.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
Are you a renter and tired of making monthly payments? Paying off someone else's mortgage? Hey, it's Ron Siegel here to help you stop renting and start owning your dream home with amazing low interest rates. And you could potentially qualify for a $500,000 home for less than $5,000 out of pocket. So stop renting. Start owning with Ron Siegel. Learn more at ronsiegelradio.com and start owning today. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you paying rent because you cannot afford to live in your dream home? Are you paying rent because you don't believe you have the down payment funds to purchase your own home? At Siegel Lending Team at ronismylender.com has up to $25,000 to help qualified people purchase their own home at amazing interest rates. Contact the Siegel Lending Team today at ronismylender.com. Again, ronismylender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037. ronismylender.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial when you're ready for that next home loan. Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. What did rates do on Friday? Most of them were up. We're kind of happy about the one that's down. Hey, if you don't have a mortgage calculator, if you want to know, when I tell you these numbers, they don't tell us the points paid, points received, or the APR. All they tell us is the number you need to put into your mortgage calculator. And yes, you get that free. rsrlinks.com/mobile app. rsrlinks.com/mobile app. Rates Friday, conventional 30-year fix, 6.781. Jumbo 30-year fix, 7.076. FHA 30-year fix, 6.493. All of those were up. The VA loan, that's the best loan on the market for our veterans. Most of the time, no down payment required. Why are you leasing? 6.357, that was down. USDA 30-year fix, 6.583. No down payment generally, and that's only in the rural areas. That one was up. Every day at this time, again, if you want to know what's going on, our thoughts on the market, rsrlinks.com/ I never get it right. Where is that, Josh? rsrlinks.com/rate market minute. Market minute. Okay, got a little delay in there, so it's all on me. Okay, what's the market's doing right now? The Dow is up 146 points as we speak. We're looking for the 10-year Treasury. That one has been volatile just because of looking at what's going on in all these different markets right now. But the 10-year Treasury is up 6 basis points, 4.446. The mortgage bond, that's down 12 basis points. Remember, when the bond goes down, the rate goes up. So we're seeing that right now, and it's all going to be right now. We're just kind of waiting. So we got a lot of money going out of the bond market, going out of gold, going into the stock market. I told you what the stock market's already doing, but why is all of that happening, and why is it happening today? And what are we sitting on? We're sitting right now. The big issue is we're sitting here and waiting to see what happens with the consumer price index, and that's going to come out tomorrow. So before the market opens, we're going to see what CPI is, because the two things that the Federal Reserve looks at, the two things that are most driving the bond market, is inflation, number one. Inflation is the arch enemy to anything having to do with bonds. Inflation kills bonds. And the other part of it is employment. Now, the employment numbers are not looking good if you look at the real numbers. Now, when you get the BS report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and we know they get it wrong every single time because they tell us they got it wrong. I mean, how great is that? So they give us a number the first Friday of the month. The next month on the first Friday, they revise it because they say we did it wrong. And then the next after that, they revise it again because they still don't have it right. And then the Census Bureau says, you still got it wrong, and we're going to give you the right number. But that's usually after about 6 months. What moves the market is that first headline number, which is generally the worst one of all of them. But over the weekend, Treasury Secretary Bessent and Trade Representative Jameson Greer met with Chinese officials in Switzerland. Under the 90-day pause, both countries lowered their base tariff rate to 10%, but the 20% fentanyl-related tariff from the U.S. remains in place, so most Chinese goods face a 30% rate in total, down from 145%. Bessent said he will be meeting with China again in a few weeks to get a more fulsome agreement. Last Friday, not a single cargo ship departed China, the first time since the COVID shutdowns. Hopefully, with the reduction in tariffs to 30% and the fact that goods are needed and people may be willing to pony up, we'll start to see shipments and trade once again. CPI. So here's the big news, because I'm going to tell it to you now what we're looking for, because our broadcast tomorrow won't be until after the tariffs and the tariffs are already released. So that's going to be, we're going to just wait for that. But the big news, consumer price index, producer price index reports are due for release on Tuesday and Thursday, respectively. The previous consumer price index report was very tame, showing 0 month-over-month inflation, but the market did not react because it was ahead of the tariffs. This report should include some of the impact of the tariffs and will likely get more attention. Consumer price index is expected to show headline inflation come in between 0.2 and 0.3%, while the replacement from the April 2024 was 0.29. Based on the estimates, year-over-year inflation should remain at 2.4, might fall to 2.3. The initial core reading is expected to be reported between 0.2 and 0.3 month over month. The replacement from last year is 0.26. And based on the estimate, it's expected that year-over-year inflation will remain at 2.8%. Remember, Lael Brainerd, former vice chair of the Fed, said that the 10-year Treasury should be 1% above inflation. So if inflation's at 2.8, 10-year Treasury should be at 3.8. Yet, as I look at it exactly at this minute, it's at 4.48. Quite a bit higher. Shelter's the big issue. We'll watch that for you. That is the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Today, we're honored to welcome Paul Peters, Army veteran, best-selling author, host of On Purpose with Paul, and founder of several organizations dedicated to helping people discover their purpose and rebuild their lives. From serving in our military, thank you, to launching mentoring programs for at-risk youth. Paul's story is one of resilience, leadership, intentional living. You don't want to miss this conversation. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Ron.
Glad to have you with us.
Well, thank you. Very excited to be here.
Yes, you've served in the military, led ministries, written books, launched multiple businesses. What was a pivotal moment that helped you connect all those experiences into this unified purpose that you got?
Well, for me, if I could share, I grew up in a very challenging childhood, raised by a single mom. I'm the youngest of six. Right off from the gate, a situation where my mom was married to an alcoholic man who sought to, very abusive, not only to my mom, to many of us. And he had pursued my mom. She ran away. He pursued her and found her and proceeded to try to kill her, put 6 bullets in her. So the very beginning of my life started with a lot of trauma, a lot of tragedy that many folks, listeners, could probably relate to some degree. And my mom was in the hospital for a year. My dad ended up going to jail. Never saw him again. But that was what was handed to me. And so over the next 20 years, I basically tried to figure out what was it that I was called to do in my life. And any young man knows, who's not had a father growing up, understands the need and the definition of how a man defines a young man. And so part of that led to a lot of insecurity. Ultimately, in my teens, led to some drug usage, alcohol abuse, and ultimately in my early 20s, contemplation and attempt of suicide on my life, because I could not find the answers, because I was pursuing it in the wrong direction, because I was trying to figure out why all of that happened to me, and I ended up becoming the victim. And it was during that time when I was contemplating suicide, call it a still voice, whatever you want to call it, but I didn't go through that attempted suicide. And I ended up reaching out to family. That was the long journey back for me, to try to figure out why all of that tragedy occurred to me early in life. And the first 20 years, and then the next 20 years, was that discovery. The last 20 years, where I'm at currently, is really about helping other people discover the story in their own life and discover their own purpose. Because everything we go through, I believe, has already been predetermined per se. Even though the tragedy, because we are allowed to go through those challenges in order to help other people who are going to go behind us within those challenges. And that's played out because for me, for example, growing up the youngest of 6 in an abusive relationship, my mom was a domestic violence victim. I'm at risk. So when you look at my nonprofit focuses on at-risk domestic violence victims. Most of my career has been working with folks with intellectual disability and mental health substance abuse. I believe my dad suffered with substance abuse and mental health issues. I was served 8 years in the military as an Army first lieutenant. And so all of those things that played out in my life in the first 20 to 25 years defined who I was, so that I could then begin to help other people find their purpose. And like I said, I work with seniors because a big part of my youth, I help volunteer with my brother, who's a minister in a nursing home, because one of the what I call the underprivileged, or the people who are forgotten. Many of them are seniors who live their life and unfortunately are left aside to not be able to be cherished as they should be. So those are some of the journeys, but I've got many more stories to share.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack there. One of them that I want to unpack with you is you were saying, as far as because I believe one of the biggest problems in our society is the fatherless home. And, you know, I don't know, obviously, I grew up with two parents. My dad was very, very, very poor as a young person. And one of the things he said to me, or he taught us, was they didn't know they were poor because so was everybody else. And you growing up without a father, yet knowing that was missing, how did you know that was missing? So I want to talk about that when we come back. When you're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. We're going to also talk about home projects that boost value, all that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you like many of your neighbors trying to figure out how to pay off your debts so you can retire someday? Build bigger savings. Invest in opportunities. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Debt will destroy 50% of Americans from being able to retire earlier and with more. What if you could have a guaranteed program that could show you how to eliminate all of your debt in 10 years or less, all without having to spend more each month than you spend right now? Yes, that's correct. All without spending more from your checkbook each month than you are today. Get your free analysis today to see if you qualify. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Log on today for your free analysis, rsrnodebt.com. No purchase necessary. The free analysis takes only 2 minutes. rsrnodebt.com. Ron Siegel Radio is your home and mortgage connection. Go to rsrnodebt.com. rsrnodebt.com.
Do you believe Southern California real estate is a great investment? Are you a little short to be a cash investor? Are you missing the Social Security card or tax returns? The Siegel Lending Team has the loans for you. Common Sense Lending is back. Yes, there's a cost to higher risk, but the reward can be great. Call today for details. 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 217037 and DRE number 1869452. Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037 and DRE number 018694452.
Homeowners over the age of 62 are taking back financial control after retirement with reverse mortgages, and the Siegel Lending Team is here to help you use it to your advantage. Call Ron Siegel with Geneva Financial to receive your free information booklet with no obligation. The booklet answers all your questions, and the best part is, you still own your home. Call Ron Siegel at 1-800-306-1990 or visit RonSiegelRadio.com. Do you own a luxury home or planning to purchase one? If so, your home may be your largest asset, but your mortgage may also be your largest debt. The Siegel Lending Team is offering amazing financing opportunities right now. Jumbo loans up to $2 million, 30-year rates in the 3%, and 15-year rates in the 2s. Learn more at RonSiegelRadio.com or call me directly. My number is 800-306-1990, licensed under NMLS 217037. Equal housing lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. 1490. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com. rsrmoney.com. Home projects that boost value. Whether you're planning to move soon or not, it's smart to be strategic about which home projects you take on. Your time, energy, and money matter, and not all upgrades offer the payoff you might expect. As U.S. News Real Estate explains, quote, not every home renovation project will increase the resale value of a home. Before you invest in a swimming pool or new addition, you should consider whether the project will pay itself off by getting prospective buyers in the door when it's time to sell, unquote. That's why before you pick up a power tool or call a contractor, your first step should be talking to a local agent. Give us a call at 800-306-1990. We know local agents in almost every market, and we've got background on every one of them. Planning ahead pays off. If you plan to move relatively soon, you want to get a jump start on your to-do list, and even if moving isn't on your radar yet, life can change quickly, and a new job, a growing family, or shifting priorities can fast-track your plans. You don't want to be scrambling to fix up your home if your timeline changes. Smart updates now equal fewer headaches later. By planning ahead, you can spread out the work over time, which is easier on your wallet and your stress levels. Plus, you'll get to enjoy the upgrades while you're still living there and have the peace of mind your house is ready to impress when it's time to list. What buyers want, what's actually worth doing. If you're not sure which projects are worth your time and money, here's some information that can help. A study from the National Association of Realtors, NAR, shows which upgrades typically offer the best return on your investment. If you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of the socials, or the ABC News and Talk, AM 1490, FM 98.1 video feeds, you are seeing a chart of the home projects with the best return on investment. New steel front door is the top. Closet renovation is number 2. New fiberglass front doors is third. New vinyl windows. Interesting. If an update you're already thinking about overlaps with those with high return on investment upgrades, great. Odds are it'll improve your quality of life now and your home's value later. But don't take this list as law. This is based on national data, and it is the sort of thing that's going to vary based on what's most sought after where you live. That's where your agent comes in. As an article from Ramsey Solutions says, quote, the best way to gauge what you can expect in terms of resale value on home improvements, especially if you're planning to sell soon, is to talk to a real estate agent who is an expert in your market. They're sure to know the local trends, and they can show you how other homes with the features you want to add are selling. That way, you can make an educated decision before you start ordering lumber and knocking down walls, unquote. You'll just want to make sure you don't overdo it. Too many high-end updates can make your home the priciest in the neighborhood. That might sound great, but can actually turn buyers away if it's outside their expected price range or the area. The right agent will help you make smart updates that buyers will love without going overboard. Whether the project is big or small, it pays to be strategic. And an agent is a key piece of that strategy. And again, we know agents all over the country, and I've got scouting reports on every one of them. So we can see, are they really doing business, or are they just out there because they were able to pass a test that I passed it, so I'm not saying good or bad about it. But you never ever use anything that's in that test. I've had my license for 10 years. It's totally worthless. It doesn't help anybody do anything in real estate. Bottom line, doesn't matter whether you plan to move soon or not, you can still pay off to make strategic updates that'll help you love your home now and stand out later. What's one upgrade you've been thinking about, wondering if it's worth it? Let's make sure it'll pay off when the time comes. That is the real-time real estate segment, brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Continuing our conversation this morning, we are chatting with Paul Peters. If you missed the last segment, Paul gave us some background that is amazing. It's really quite a story that Paul's experienced in life. And Paul, I wanted to get to one of the questions I have for you, because I'm the host, so I get to ask the questions. It's all fun. My dad, I was mentioning in the last segment, my dad said that because of his situation, they didn't know what they didn't know. So they didn't know that they were poor. They thought everybody just got to share one can of beans for the whole family. Did you realize what was missing in your life when your dad wasn't there?
I did actually. Like I said, I was the youngest of 6. My mom was a single parent. She worked all the time just to put food on the table for us. And so I think as a young child, you just know there's something missing. Even though I grew up without the dad, I missed that dual parenting role. And with my mom working all the time, I was kind of parenting myself or being parented by my siblings. And so it was challenging. I was bullied as a young kid. I chose to sought relief, through alcohol and drugs in my teen years, which ultimately, anyone who has gone that path before never meets and fulfills the desires of what you want to meet that void in your life. So the first 20 years of my life, I was trying to get the answers to the questions I had. Why did this happen to me? And how do I relieve the pain?
Wow. So was the military the solution for you?
It was part of the
solution. Had you straightened out your
Yeah.
life before you went in the military?
No, it was part of the solution simply because I did not have that father figure and I knew I needed that discipline. So I got in there, which provided the structure, discipline I needed, in certain decisions. But like I said, there was a missing void, missing spiritually, missing emotionally. And I did not have that father figure that, most young men and young girls need. And so that was just one component of how I sought the answer of getting into the military, but it was not the answer.
Gotcha. So, a lot of people, when they go through major life issues, they struggle trying to find out their why and what their mission is. What's your advice for someone who feels adrift right now, but knows they're meant for more?
Well, I would definitely, like for myself, a big component, you asked for a turning point in my life, and it really came spiritually for me when I had to confront my father who had passed away when I was 11. I couldn't go back and deal with that issue because he was gone. I had to deal with what I was experiencing in way of the anger, the unforgiveness, and the connection, unhealthy connection that led to my addiction because of that. And I had, in a way that was absolutely transforming for me. I had to forgive my father, even though he had passed away. I got to understand why my father did some of the things. Didn't excuse his behavior, but he grew up in an alcoholic family. He was abused. So it gave me a level of understanding and compassion I needed to let go of my anger and bitterness so that I could begin to heal and I could begin to grow as a human being and as a man.
Interesting. It's just fascinating when I get to talk to people and hear their stories because, you're going through all that you went through at such a young age. There's a whole lot there. And then contemplating suicide, now taking that to the next level of being able to looking at to helping other people. Did you have to find help yet? It seems to me like you probably had to help yourself before you could go out to help others, don't you?
Exactly. I would break up my life pretty much in about 3 to 4 sections. The first section was dealing with the trauma. The second one was the journey to recovery. And then the third section was the discovery. How do I take what I experienced the first third of my life and the second third to then give back? And it was really, and I tell people, if you want to understand your purpose, sometimes you have to turn around and look at the journey that you've taken up to that moment. It will give you indications and clues as to what you're supposed to do. And that's what I discovered in myself. I looked at my life and I looked at the journey. I looked at the issue with the addiction. I looked at working with seniors, all of that, recognizing I could no longer play the victim, which I did in the first part of my life. I needed now to help other people who were following that same path. And so that's why I started the nonprofit. That's why I work in the field that I work. That's why I write the books, do the stories, so I can tell my story and give the ability to have others tell their story. Because in this storytelling is the discovery, part of the discovery of who you're supposed to be and your calling in your life.
So how did you get the financing and funding for doing all this? I mean, because you said you grew up very poor. And then you get into the drugs and alcohol, which certainly is not going to be a financially rewarding. The military is not going to give you, funding to go and do all this service that you do. How did you find that part of your mission?
Well, one of the things is I've been an entrepreneur since I was 6. I had to be self-sufficient because my mom worked all the time. She was just trying to feed us. So I started my paper route. I did lawns. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur as long as I can remember. Started my own company in my 30s, working in the state of North Carolina, work with folks with intellectual disability. And I started from one individual to serving over 700. So I pretty much do that. That funds a lot of my activities. But like I said, once I started that and helping people within my staff, the individuals with disabilities find a sense of purpose. I just expanded it to book writing and to TV as well.
That's a lot of people when you're serving. I mean, I know just from the families that we serve and we talk to and consult all the time. Serving 700 families is a big operation.
It is, but it's a true joy because look at it from a standpoint. I don't know if you have ever known or had somebody with this disability. I have my oldest has autism. I adopted him. When you take into consideration the what it entails to take care of a special needs child, let alone have a dream to do the things that you and I take for granted. It is such a calling, such a sense of purpose, and I've tried to instill that with my staff, that we have a God-given mission to be able to care for people who cannot necessarily do it on their own. So it gives us an opportunity to make a life, a dream possible for the folks that we get to support.
And that's probably the thing that makes it's a self-satisfying when you get to watch somebody, when you're able to help somebody meet their goals and their dreams. It kind of makes you feel, seems to me, at least in my world, I think one of the best things we ever do is give veterans keys to houses, right? Because we're in the lending world. So when you're talking about helping special needs individuals, watching them achieve their goals has got to be very, very fulfilling.
It is extremely fulfilling. None of us got to where we're at on our own. I'm a big proponent of mentoring. I started a mentoring center for the at-risk kids. We all got here because somebody cared enough to help us, to give keys to a veteran, to be able to help somebody who can't walk, be able to walk or to speak or to do the things that we can't do on our own. That's why it's so important we work together. We have a level of compassion to support those people in need, because eventually we're going to be in need. And if we share that kind of compassion and love, we're going to get a lot further in life, and the world's going to be a much better place.
Absolutely. We're going to continue our conversation with Paul Peters when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. You can reach us anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey, and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
Are you paying rent because you cannot afford to live in your dream home? Are you paying rent because you don't believe you have the down payment funds to purchase your own home? At Siegel Lending Team at RonIsMyLender.com has up to $25,000 to help qualified people purchase their own home at amazing interest rates. Contact the Siegel Lending Team today at RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037. RonIsMyLender.com.
Are you like many of your neighbors trying to figure out how to pay off your debts so you can retire someday? Build bigger savings. Invest in opportunities. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Debt will destroy 50% of Americans from being able to retire earlier and with more. What if you could have a guaranteed program that could show you how to eliminate all of your debt in 10 years or less, all without having to spend more each month than you spend right now? Yes, that's correct. All without spending more from your checkbook each month than you are today. Get your free analysis today to see if you qualify. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Log on today for your free analysis, rsrnodebt.com. No purchase necessary. The free analysis takes only 2 minutes. rsrnodebt.com. Ron Siegel Radio is your home and mortgage connection. Go to rsrnodebt.com. rsrnodebt.com.
Do you believe Southern California real estate is a great investment? Are you a little short to be a cash investor? Are you missing the Social Security card or tax returns? The Siegel Lending Team has the loans for you. Common Sense Lending is back. Yes, there's a cost to higher risk, but the reward can be great. Call today for details. 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 217037 and DRE number 1869452. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Borrow Smart segment today being brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. Hey, if you haven't thought about it yet, why haven't you got that home equity line of credit? I know that there's a lot of question marks in our society right now. There's a lot of people that are worried about losing their jobs. Cost of insurance. Did you know that if you have a home equity line of credit, if you happen to have a insurance need, you can help fund your deductible with that line of credit? Think about that part of it, and then go talk to your insurance agent and see what the cost difference is between a $1,000 deductible and a $10,000 deductible. See how that works for you. That's the Borrow Smart segment brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. Continue our conversation. Paul Peters is with us today. He's got a fascinating story that we've been learning about and going to learn a little bit more. So, Paul, you got this organization. Can you talk about
I'm sorry, Ron, I missed the question.
Some of the biggest challenges you've faced in building this organization and what keeps
some of the challenges I faced in building the organization? Was that the question?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I started in North Carolina, and so part of it is when I started, we were doing a service called Community Navigation, and then basically building it one by one. I was the only employee owner for about 6 years, and I've grown to about over 300 staff. So just building something from the ground up has been the biggest challenge. But the driving force, in line with what helping others discover their purpose, if you believe in something and you have the passion and you have the skill, you can accomplish anything. And so what I've done is combine what I've taught in my book, or wrote in my book and taught on my TV show, is finding your purpose has everything to do with what you're passionate about, what you're skilled at, and what drives you each and every day. So I have a passion to help folks with disabilities. I have a passion to help folks with who are veterans, senior citizens. And so that's been my driving force. And so success is always going to be on the other side of that, because when you believe in something and you persevere, you will be successful. So that's been the driving force. And my company is looking to expand outside of North Carolina across the nation in the next 3 years. So we're just going to be building and creating something great across the nation.
Wow. And tell us the website for your company.
It's www.covenanttoserve.com. And my nonprofit is www.NehemiahProjectCovenantOfLove.org.
So the idea of this, does the nonprofit help fund the Covenant business? How does that work?
No, the nonprofit is pretty much funded by donations and grants. We were able to get a grant through the opioid grant for North Carolina to help folks who are struggling with addiction and at-risk kids. And so some of that's funded that way. And it's primarily in North Carolina, but it's a global ministry. I'm also expanded into Central America through my foundation, doing very similar things, working with the folks that are in poverty in Guatemala and in Costa Rica.
So does the nonprofit take donations from our audience?
It does, yes.
Okay, so if you want to help out there, and I didn't catch the name of your book, so let's see. We didn't put that. Didn't share that with our audience also.
Yeah, so I've got 4 books out. So the first one's called Discovering and Embracing Your Life Purpose, and then the second book was The Ways of Wisdom, and then the other book was Success Redefined that I co-authored with Jack Canfield from Success Redefined. I did a new edition or updated edition on the first book. And then I'm currently working on a fiction called The Inheritance, which is helping people discover their purpose, but it's in a fiction form about the main character named Jacob Steele.
Wow. Yeah, so you got a lot going on.
Yes.
So what impact do you hope that your work's going to have on the community or the industries?
Well, I'm one of those individuals, that the Bible basically says that, many are called, few are chosen. When you get that point in your life and you feel like you're following God's plan and purpose for your life, then you do it with passion, you do it with excitement. I don't know when my last day will be, but I want to make sure that I've lived it to the fullest. I want to make sure the message that I have, helping people find their purpose, coming together in a sense of unity to make a difference in our world, that is my main message. And I'm going to do it until my last breath.
Sounds like you're doing it to the fullest as well.
Yeah. There's no other way to live your life.
Give us one of your favorite. Yeah. So, I always I think that a lot of people learn a lot by stories. Give us a memorable story, a breakthrough moment in your career.
Breakthrough moment in my career. I absolutely love my kids. And so spending the time with my kids, I had to make a decision, with all the different pursuits that I made. I went through a pretty nasty divorce, and a lot of the time my kids growing up, I didn't get to spend the time with them. So I've taken basically quantity time and for quality time. And so taking that time with my kids to travel the world has been probably the greatest thrill. Also recently marrying my soulmate has been another experience. God has been very gracious and allowing me to find the woman that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with and who totally believes in what I'm doing. And we are just impacting people all over the globe. So.
That sounds wonderful. So what advice are you going to give somebody, or would you share with somebody that wants to get into to follow your path?
Well, I would tell them there's an interesting quote that I put in my book. It's by Mark Twain. The 2 most important days of your life are the days you were born, and the second is the day you discover why. I would encourage people, pursue what you feel called to do. I would ask the question, what am I called to do? And don't give up until you get the answer. Once you get the answer, I would go after it like never before, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up making more money than you thought possible. And you're going to love doing it because you're doing it for the right reason, to serve other people, not necessarily to earn a lot of money. And really at the end of our life, we want to be able to say we made an impact and we served our community and we gave back. And I think for me, that's all that matters. It's not the money I make. It's not the possessions. It's what impact did I make on this world while I lived in it.
I think it sounds to me like you've got a lot going on there, in the sense that impacting the world, but also remembering, changing. It sounds like you're working on changing something that, in my opinion, and the only opinion I can really share, is important, is, keep maintaining that role model figure, as being that father figure, and what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it was very important for me, even though my father was not a good role model. I had a choice to make when I had my 2 kids, because I have 2, from my previous marriage, and then 2 I adopted. I could have chosen to be like my dad and had that continued cycle of abuse, neglect, but I chose not to do that because I knew what I wanted. I knew what was important to me, and I wasn't going to have my kids go through what I went through. So I took that time, because I became a parent later in life. I took that time, as I told you, my first part was the mess. Then it was trying to figure out what to do with the mess. And I had my kids in that middle to third section of my life. Not that I got everything figured out, but I figured the most important thing out, and that was to be a good loving parent, father.
Model section of being taking care of our kids. I have 3 of my own, and they're most important thing. And actually, I guess most important thing now we've added 2 grandkids. So looking after them and being a good role model and teaching them the world, or at least the best we can do, is probably the best thing out there in my world as well. So appreciate you coming on and sharing with us. We're going to put in our show notes the links to your websites, to your books. And hopefully we'll be able to get you back on when I'm not breaking up quite as much. But as always, we ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all our sponsors. A big thanks to spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.